Are we going to do like the point 1, 2, 3, 4, or we do offense and then we switch to defense later on? How are we going to do it?
We're gonna go point by point, offense then defense.
Cool.
And
And
if
then
people
yeah,
wanna,
and then repeat.
if people wanna spectate me or walk around nearby where I'm at blue spawn. We're just gonna talk about first offense. This is gonna be pretty simple. Most of the time, you're not gonna pay attention to cart all too much. If anything, you're gonna get a little bit of time off of it. And there is an idea where you can avoid getting spotted over here. If you're avoided being spotted, you, your scout, and a couple of other people can rush over hill to kill this heavy. The idea being, you kill the heavy, it's going to be a much better Uber for you guys, but you don't necessarily need to do that. It could just be a job for the combo to do. So instead, you and your soldier, well, first, before that, you want to make sure you know where the stickies are at, count which ones, make sure that they're above this door, above on flank. If you hear them, but you don't see them being placed, assume that they're going to be in a weird spot. The weirdest spots in this area are this wall over here. Sometimes this too, just above as well. People don't really look up. Besides that, it's pretty simple. Make sure that there's not a sniper on cliff when you're peeking this. There's no real way to judge, so Fist of Steel all the time. Check up here if you see no sticks. Minigun, sit in this corner. Your soldier and you just wait for a fight to happen, in which case then you start flooding flank. You could play a little bit passive, you could play a little bit aggressive, depending on the situation, but the ideal is you walk in when your soldier bombs, your soldier distracts the gun, you shoot the gun for as much as you can. Sometimes you do need to drop down for it. It's going to be a call, it's going to be a commitment. What ideally should happen is your combo pushes the gun as you guys sack for it. And if their combo is playing by flank, it could force an Uber, it could force people to die. Either way, you're forcing a mistake on their part, so that's the entire play in a nutshell when they're holding on flank. You don't want to be spotted.
Is that solely a flank call to push it? Wait for combo to push and then we go.
You ideally want to wait for combo to call it.
Okay.
If you try doing it alone on flank, it's not going to really guarantee success. Neither does the combo calling it, but at least then you guys are together.
Yeah.
And another thing, don't think that you're safe standing over here. The soldier has so many areas to just splash you from that I just avoid standing in this area completely. If I want some amount of visuals, maybe I'd play here. But again, like maybe a scout rushes in, ruins your crit heals, and then you have to reset to get them back. It's not worth it. Make sure that you always have a 450 as much as you can. You have to walk to your medic. You can't let your medic walk to you. That would be baiting, so yeah, most of the time you're just waiting in the corner. Your soldier and you then get a call. You guys make haste, do whatever you need to do. If for whatever reason their flank is not here, you and your soldier and other people should be getting this area anyway. The idea being you guys should just be able to waltz through. If they're playing on chicken wire and they're not playing flank, they just lose. You have complete spam over by tunnel. You just completely control the area that you're trying to cap, and that's all that matters. However, the more pressure they do put on here, the more reliant you have to be on your combo to call for a push to happen. One of the most obvious examples is an Uber exchange. Combo, they go through main, they're fighting flank, their combo uses. Once the Ubers are done, then it's you and your soldier's turn to wait for a call again, or go immediately after the Uber's done. You don't want to go during, even though it does distract. It doesn't distract all too much, and you end up losing your lives for a couple of kills. When you could have realistically gotten a whole lot more kills if you had just waited. Does this always work the way that I have talked about it? No. No, it usually just depends on the situation, but most of the time, go in after the Ubers are done and when your combo's calling for a re-aggression. Don't make the mistake of always going when the Uber's faded, because then that leads to a habit. That habit could be predictable, and they could back up a little bit, deal with y'all, and then start dealing with your combo, and you don't want to make this predictable. Besides that, there's not really much else to talk about with first. There is another thing that I could tell you about. It's playing over here, with the idea being they have to walk into you. You're sitting by this angle, you don't get stabbed. You can play on the wall, but you end up still being able to get stabbed. It's not necessarily perfect at dealing with spies, but it also leaves flank open. And sure, you're spamming this out, but as soon as people see you, as soon as you start shooting, they know where you're at. They're gonna just start rushing you, regardless of whether or not they know you're there. This is a very committal part of the map. You want to be in and stay in for as long as possible, and you want to get some value out of your time there. You want to win. And in this case, it's winning hill, which prevents them from getting any spam onto cart. Any questions? Because that's pretty much it.
I got none.
So for the Zachary, is it possible to like show the heavy left side, kill the heavy real quickly, and then if they aren't really supporting cliff area, then yeah, just get behind them.
No. The
That
reason
is kind
why
of like old strategy,
it is a
right?
very old strategy, but it's also one that
Yeah,
doesn't really get anything immediately. If you're going for a sack,
yeah.
you're going for an immediate value. If you want to
Mhm.
try and go all the way to tunnel, you could. But chances are people are going to call you. If not then when the spy spawns. At least when the spy spawns. And if you're smart about it, then you're going to go quickly into tunnel, wrapping around and trying to kill their medic on hill, but that's a fever dream. It's not necessarily something that you can
Mm.
guarantee all the time.
Yeah, it's more like a 10% chance to let it happen.
5 max.
Yeah,
Focus the heavy. Get that kill with your team. It's going to be much better than trying to go into tunnel. It just wastes too much time
delaying.
for
Yeah.
a non-guaranteed chance at killing the medic. It's not worth it. Let other people like your
Okay.
scout do that. But for
Does teams like
defense,
to kill the heavy? Like, is it just still default to play here, or like just play by rock?
pretty much, yeah.
I know. Okay.
Yeah, it's pretty much default that when your team is playing aggressive on flank, you're holding hill. The idea being you just get spam over the people trying to walk over. If they send a sniper cliff, as long as you're not spotted, you easily deal with that. Anybody trying to walk over cliff has to deal with you. This makes you a target. So there
Okay.
is going to be attempts on your life. You're going to get sacked upon. You're going to get thrown out of the loop because there's 4 people rushing after you and you are not used to that. At least this immediately in the game. So let me tell you the positions and what they do for you. You're playing on here, you're playing to deny them space altogether. This is a very aggressive, very predictable way of playing, but it's also important for you to consider. This is not the only time that you could play up here. Jump revving on and trying to do damage wherever you can is also an important thing for you to consider, especially when you're playing the second spot, which is by the wall or close to it, far away from it. Either way, you're not playing on the rock, but you're playing closer towards the pack and drop down. The idea of this being you're still watching over hill, you can immediately jump back onto hill from the rocks, and the idea is just protecting yourself, being able to not commit at the cost of you having to wait and play predictably. Or not predictably, but you have to play reactionary, in order for you to try and get something done, which I don't think is the best way to kind of go about it. You would ideally want to be able to sit up here the entire time, but if situations calls for it, you don't want to take spam, maybe the demo spams over hill before he starts taking an Uber exchange. These are the things you're going to have to consider. And more importantly, here's the way that I usually play it in the first 15 seconds. I'm on the hill, spam a little bit the first 5 seconds, checking for spy. If I don't catch him on hill, he's going to be going main tracks, or he's going to be going into flank, which I can't really control. You could try spy checking these areas, but very likely that spy is going to get behind. During these first 15 seconds, it's going to be more and more likely that the... Well, it's going to... Sorry. Not more and more likely, but the chances to sack into you start to decrease as that time keeps on going. Of course, after the Ubers, then you can't really reliably gauge whether or not this team is going to sack into you. But the important part is that you're playing on the rock for the first 5 seconds, Around the 10-second mark, you have to consider jumping off if you're getting spammed, or anticipate getting spammed. And playing over here, by the left side of this cliff face, during that last 5 seconds, being prepared for an Uber. The reason you play over here, it's not to peek onto tracks, even though that's what you can do. You could do that on top of the rock like this as well, and that's why this is also important. The reason you do this is to get closer towards beams so they can flash you during the Uber. Because if you're not flashed, and they take an Uber into you, you become a target, you die. So that's why I really want to avoid you guys taking damage. That's something you're going to have to look for. And more importantly, that's something that you're going to have to gauge based off of not much other than the information that people can provide you. That makes sense?
Yeah.
This is a very aggressive way of playing. This isn't always the best. This isn't always the best way to play. Sometimes you have to commit, or sometimes you have to not commit. And that's where we go into the tunnel hold. If you play it passive, you're playing in the corner. The idea being, you stop walking, you listen for footsteps, and then you just start dealing with them. And the other idea, instead of watching over a cliff, now you watch tracks a bit more committed. And the idea is you want to hold these areas, making sure that you have line of sight in a lot of different areas from different locations. Just be aware of this spot. I forgot what it was called, but this spot is a sniper spot. Really annoying to fight against. Best way for you to do that is to just ignore it. Use map geometry to your advantage. Look over hill if you need to, but ideally you want to be playing aggressive. So if you need a backup, you're low on HP, you sit in the corner, eat your meal, and then you go back in. You could also eat in the corner over here, but that increases the likelihood of you getting walked at. Either way, scouts are going to be the most likely to walk into you, with NG and spies being the second and third. Besides that, though, not really much to say. I mean, just look out for sniper, look out for demo. If your team's not playing aggressive, you're not playing aggressive. And that's where playing over here gets that much more value, because if your team can recommit, you're able to fight main, you're able to get back onto hill, and your team is able to get back flank. Any questions?
None.
Alright, sweet.
Are you doing only defense right now?
No,
We are doing point by point.
Yeah.
So let's say you
We just
kind of
talked
wipe
about
them
offense.
first.
Offense or defense?
You on offense, like, do you like immediately rush flank or just wait for your team to show?
Preferably you play by hill. Just prevent them from getting space, and then the idea is that you're sitting over here waiting for cart to get capped. You have a choice between going over hill, going into tunnel, but you're also just protecting the cart. What's up, guys? We
I have a
just
bad
got...
habit of just rushing flank and trying to get a pick.
No, it's all good.
I think I'm just eager to get a kill.
It's much easier for you to not rely on the fact that that team is wiped, but if that team wipes, it's going to usually happen when the cart is over here, is what I found. So,
Let's see.
if the cart is up here, and they wipe, the play is the same. Your combo preferably goes over hill. You and your soldier can debate on whether going hill, side tons, or tons is the best option. Preferably, I prefer playing in an angle where I'm going to get the most value. So for me, my soldier and I are just walking straight through. If my team is already committed, this is going to commit even harder into them. I get this spot, but now we're just crossing over into second offense. So we'll talk about that kind of play later. If your team wipes them while the cart is all the way back, not much you can do. Get cart up and then you start walking forward. Never delay your cart. Always keep it up on time.
Noted there.
You also notice that I haven't talked about you guys playing flank. Some teams will want you to do this. I'll just show you how to do it real quick. You sit in this corner, wait for your scout and soldier to call you in, throw them a meal, just wait for them, play it wide, play it close, whatever have you, but you're peeking with your combo, you're peeking with your flank. If you guys are getting spammed out, you can hide over by this head glitch. This is really annoying, but it's also really counterable if people just walk forward from different angles. So, It is the best head glitch for heavy besides Cliff. Like, people will not be able to shoot you from the spot, and you're going to be able to shoot them fully until they walk into you and then close the distance.
See.
You also notice that I haven't really talked about chicken wire either. Chicken wire you don't really want to be pushing from. If you just so happen to be here, something's gone wrong, you should be playing in tunnel. Luckily you can walk to it if your team is choosing to commit. Be aware you're still walking into that position, so you're not ready to fight. Any questions for first?
None.
Alright, perfect. What's up, Sweege? What's up, Treble G?
What up?
Nothing much. I'm just talking about Vig.
Nope.
I was trying really hard not to say a word, but we're gonna continue. But yeah, for second offense, like I said, if your team wipes them, I prefer you going into tunnel. You and your soldier never do this alone. The main idea being you guys get over to here as quickly as possible. Your team's fighting, you're fighting from this angle. You prevent them from getting the gun. If they're all walking towards main, this kind of gets countered by that, but again, it's just sort of a play to deny people from getting hill space. If you have hill, you could try playing like this. You could try playing the corner, waiting for your team to walk in with you. You could try playing a little bit back. But the more important part is getting that information in the first place. You never want to walk in willy-nilly. So if you know that they're walking over hill, you continue like I said. If not, you're going to be going into side tons, or you're going to be going over hill for some sort of play. Again, preferably, you want to end it over here. This is a common way that you can successfully push this point. So when we talk about tunnel, we're going to branch over into this spot in particular, because this is a really good spot for you to head glitch, for you to get stuff done. Dispenser's right here, so you just shoot people. You just shoot people all around, and yeah, if you're able to get this spot, it's a win condition. So keep yourself alive for that, if anything. But this is assuming that the team's all dead. If they're all alive, they have everything set up. There's not much you can do other than just set up yourself. You and your soldier get buffs. You guys are helping the cart getting pushed. And during that time, you can either go into tunnel, or you can go side tons. Side tons is pretty simple. You, your soldier, and a couple of other people coordinate this push. The idea being you're supporting your soldier's bombing in on this wall. You could shoot the gun, shoot people over here. But the biggest threat is, of course, Shutter. And what we're going to be talking about soon, this is going to be where you're going to be playing the whole time. If not, you're going to be playing aggressive onto the rock, like so, with somebody else watching side tons. But for the most part, just make sure that when you have this angle, you have it. You don't need to worry about it. Sometimes you need to take this fight just to draw eyes. Your soldier's still getting value, and your combo should be walking in at the exact same time. This should be a call from your team. Not so much on you and your soldier. The only thing that you should be calling is that you're in that position in the first place, ready to go. And I say it's simple, but really it's the most simple way to push out of every single lane that we're going to talk about so far. Because at least this is just a corner. Watch out for spies, watch out for soldiers spamming you, watch out for heavies. The main goal is the same. You get the gun, bless you. You get the gun, shoot people, dispenser, your team walks up, you're staying in, you're committing, not committing, depending on the situation. Pretty simple stuff. For tunnel, that's where it gets a little bit more confusing, because this is an angle where people will try to take an Uber from. If your team is smart, they're not going to use you for an Uber. You can take the Uber, we're going to talk about that, but it's going to be a solo scout demo, or solo scout pyro, but usually not with you in it. The idea being, you get their Uber out, you're going all the way back in, from hill, and you're just sitting in the corner right here waiting for stuff to happen. Maybe they drop down, maybe they don't. Maybe you play this angle instead, just because you get a buff, you're able to get back in, your team is walking over hill, they're calling for a push, you call for a push, you're on the cart, helping, getting it capped, or you're playing aggressive, trying to get as much space as you can while staying revved. And I want you to recognize
That's
that
all after the Uber, right?
this is all after the Uber, yeah.
Alright.
If it was a dry fight, that would be different. because then you and your demo would be working together. The idea is the exact same, except now your demo's the one pushing the cart, or he's playing wider, so you have to, by then, play closer towards the wall. You don't want to eat the same splash as him, so let him play wide, you play close. It ends up working out in that way. But, I will say, if your combo does this and you're a part of it, people have to be over on hill to do other things as well. So your scout, your NG, your soldier, your sniper, every single one of those classes have to be doing something. If they're not, this push is not going to really work all too well. For scout and NG, it's pretty simple. Walk over hill or push cart. For sniper and soldier, it's pretty simple. You walk over hill or you go through main tunnel just to try and get something, but sniper usually needs help over hill. And this is the best place for him to stand. So we need somebody with him. That's why a soldier, maybe a pyro, maybe a scout, maybe an NG goes with him. And scout has the flexibility to go anywhere, but the best ones for him are, of course, tunnel, pushing cart. We're just trying to get something, or pushing over hill with the idea of helping a sniper. Any questions so far?
So
None.
after the traded Uber, is it possible for shoulder and heavy to hold tunnel area, and when Uber faded, regardless if it main tunnel or over hill, is it possible the heavy to rotate to Jenkins?
You mean side tunnels, right? Or no, sorry,
No, Jenkins.
this area. My bad.
Jenkins. Yeah.
It is
Yeah.
possible,
After
but
yeah.
the reason why I don't like it is because heavy on hill is not really that played. That and it's very stock standard. Like, if you're able to get in, it's still good value, but you're ending up getting good value over hill instead of you getting good value closer towards their team. So I'm just going to show you an ideal way of pushing in, and you're going to see that everything on hill is just a harder version of you just walking main tunnel. Usually for less reward as well. When you play in Jenkins, you're susceptible to sniper shots all around, so you either have to play close or play really far, just to gauge how much you can really peek. If you're playing over here, you see nothing, then you have a chance to drop down, and you go over here. And by then, people will spot you, people will still call you out. So then you get spammed, you get walked at, you can also walk into them. And that's where the power of this comes in, because, of course, a heavy in this area is still powerful. Notice how many times you're peeking over hill, though. You're peeking a sniper sightline most of the time.
You are eating spam. And also eating spam.
Exactly. But spies
Unless you
calling
sniper inside Jenkins, which yeah.
Even still, you're just playing there. You're not really doing anything. You can be a protector. You are one of the best ones to do it, but you're much more applicable on cart. You're much more applicable in a different area.
Fair enough.
And even still, you have this much effort that you're putting into getting over here, where you could put the same amount of effort, and you are right here, right in their face, getting more value. I'd argue tunnel is better.
Okay.
But if you're going to push over hill, you could do it with your combo, you could do it with flank. Preferably you're going on cart helping with this head glitch. But if you are, at least when you get this shack, you could drop down and do the exact same thing we talked about. Try not to take fall damage, you could just jump on the roof, but it takes slower, people will see you, all that sort of stuff. And yeah, when you're playing in tunnel, best thing that you could try to utilize is just keeping yourself on the cart for as long as possible. If somebody's on the cart, you're free to play head glitch, but if you're the only one on cart for whatever reason, kinda sucks, but you still have a head glitch on the cart itself. It's pretty reliable. Not the best, but reliable. Besides that, when you're walking into tunnel, make sure that when you're clearing this out, you're not getting hit by spam. Snipers really like to drop down and take pot shots at the fat man. And Scout likes to throw his toys at the fat man as well. And Demo likes to go down here sometimes, so you never really want to be caught in this area. The only times where you're caught in their line of sight is when you're pushing side tunnel. And even still, if you're pushing side tunnel and they're down there, unless they're walking into you with a plan to kill you guys, there's not really much of a plan that's going on defense. Like, you guys have more preparation. You're doing it when they're not in position. It's just better for y'all unless they commit into you, which is generally worse than just sitting up on hill. Another idea is just playing this area. But again, side tons, soldier will spam you as well. You don't want to give him banners, so it's preferable for you to just gauge the situation, play to your heart's content. If you need to play close, by all means play close, but this is susceptible if they walk in. But they're not going to walk in from this angle too much if you're holding it. They're going to respect the fact that you're holding it, so they're not going to really peek it all too much. If they do, they're just going to jiggle peek it. But over here, the scout jiggle peeks you, throws toys, shoots scatter guns, ruins your crit heals, and it's a worse day for you. So keep your crit heals, always be 450. And more importantly, go in when your team is ready to push. Don't go in willy-nilly, especially in this reactionary of a spot. You can play proactive. I'm not saying you can't. There are situations where that's the best thing that you can do. But it's not going to be the best play all the time. And that's why you need to play with your team and your team play with you. Other than that, that's pretty much it for offense. Besides one key thing. When you're playing in tunnel, you're watching out for satellite, just making sure that people are not playing this area. And yeah, that's pretty much it. For defense, it's pretty simple. You're holding the shutter, making sure nobody's going in through side tunnel. You're also being aware of the people over hill. If there's no sniper, you can freely peek this, and you can just swap back and forth, help your team over hill. This is where a heavy starting to play aggressive over hill is really, really powerful. But keep in mind, that's also when the sniper's dead. That's when they don't have the space or people to try and push it. So that applies to demo. That applies to any single class of value that's pushing over hill. That are key to that push over hill. So scout, maybe a pyro, but usually not. A demo, a sniper, a medic. Any one of those classes can lead into a snowball. All I want you to do is be aware of side tunnel and be aware of the situation at hand. And if it's called for you guys to walk in, you walk in, and you do what you can. But for the most part, this is the most aggressive way to peek. It's not the best way. In my opinion, you're playing over here, watching side tunnel. This watches side will watches over hill. This gives you more room for you to walk over hill with the risk of you not being able to peek side tons in case people start immediately walking in. The timing's there. It happens sometimes. So please be aware that when you're going over here, this shutter will close. You're not going to be able to see it unless you peek in this area. This also exposes yourself over to hill. And if a sniper's playing wide, it should be called, but ultimately that's kind of on you if you peek him. And then of course, this is dependent on your team, but soldier usually plays over here when you're watching side. And when you're watching over hill, when you're watching the cart, that's when your soldier plays shutter, plays closer, just does a whole lot more with banner. But with hill, pretty simple. You have the same benefits of playing aggressive that we talked about so far, except you don't need to rely on a sniper kill to get you there. You're already here. You always have 450, so there's never a risk of you losing a fight because of health. The only thing that you need to worry about is if people are committing onto the cart. The main three that you're going to see are Scout, NG, and Heavy. This spot is much better for Heavy to shoot than it is for a Heavy to be over here. But if the Heavy's standing on top of the rock, the Heavy on the floor wins. So, balance that. You're going over here to spam people out. If they try walking close, you meet them like this. You don't walk towards them, because then you just give yourself up. But if they're playing in tunnel, you could play in this area, just try to peek around, play cheeky. Of course, you're not going to get a crit buff afterwards, probably. But you might ruin theirs too, so. It's a thought. When you're pushing over hill, one thing I forgot to mention. Make sure you're either aggressing into a team that's playing aggressive, or you're playing into a team that's playing passive, or you're letting an aggressive team walk into you and you're just retaliating. I'm gonna go over this more with Swede because I'm really trying to think more about Season 22 and the way that I used to take heavy v heavies. But what I found was that my team was a whole lot more passive back then than they are now, which of course is fair because we're playing against Witness. We have to be more aggressive, otherwise they're just gonna take space for free. With that, it also comes with the downside of you not being able to prepare for situations as fast as you would if you were just playing by yourself, playing passive, playing to bait, all that sort of situation. With this, I want you guys to take that for... I want you to apply this in practice more so than example. Because there are going to be times when playing like this is the best way to do it, because there's no heavy over hill. But if you know that the heavy's over hill, you have to peek it wide. You have to get some sort of advantage. If a sniper's peeking over hill, same thing. You want to just make sure that you're either going in, he's not aware of your existence, and you get immediate value by being closer towards him, or you know he's peeking over hill. You don't want to jinx it, so you're not jiggle peeking. You're just avoiding the sightline by holding A instead of D, for example. Use the space to your advantage. You will always have ammo. You will always have health. Whether or not you're going to get crit buffs, that's dependent on what fights you take. But more importantly, these things are going to happen at the exact same time, and you are not going to be able to deal with everything. So pick a lane, help your team, and once you're done with that lane, you go to another one. If there is another one. That makes sense?
Yeah.
But yeah, just be aware, like I said before. There are times when you can play like this and it's very good, because people are not expecting you to be here. But if they know you're over here, the threat becomes minimized unless you play around it. And even still, there are still ways for you to get stabbed, there's still ways for you to get caught, there's still ways for you to lose, because instead of focusing the right angle, you were focusing the wrong angle. And you let people go through when they shouldn't have. That's the stuff you have to juggle when playing by house. That's the stuff you do not have to juggle with when you're playing more baity and Shutter. If you know that they're losing a demo during the fight, at least in Shutter, you can do the exact same thing with a little bit more prep time. Whereas with you playing over here, there's no prep time. You're ready or you're not ready. And I just want you guys to be aware of that. Mostly because it's not the actual aim itself that helps with the heavy v heavy. It's the fact that you are prepared for a situation, and you have more time to prepare than that other person. And even still, that's an incomplete thought, because there are times when perfect aim does matter. There's a reason why minigun will work on defense much better than Tomislav, for example. But with Tomislav, you have that guarantance of people not being able to spot you based off of the sound you make. Like, of course, people can react to visual information. You're shooting over hill. People see the tracers. They know what you're doing. They hear you shooting. They know what you're doing. You're playing by Shutter. You're still hiding yourself. You're listening for spies. You're doing everything that you should be. This gives you control. And it's a risk, because miniguns are generally better on this close of a point. Would I say it's better for the entire map? Probably not. But for the situations when you're trying to play aggressive or trying to defend, and aim needs to be perfect or as close to perfection as possible, minigun will succeed in these areas. Minigun will still shred as much as Tomislav in this area, despite being farther away. You still have that ammo and health. You still have medic. You still have to watch out for spy. In fact, it makes you worse at dealing with spy because A, he knows where you're at, and B, you're using the minigun. This makes it worse for you to hold hill because they know where you're at. They know exactly what you're going to be dealing with, which gives you no time to prepare. That's one of the major risks of using the minigun. You're going in with the fact that you're not going to be preparing as much as you are reacting to situations and just blitzing through them regardless of whether or not they have a plan. Like I said, minigun beats Tomislav close to medium range, because Tomislav you need perfect aim, but minigun you don't. The spread is that much wider, to the point where minigun makes a difference. Even at medium range, which is crazy, but it makes sense. want you guys to consider it. I might run it. I might not. I'm probably going to use Thomas Law because I really want to hear where Fish is at. But is there any questions for defense? There is a little bit more that we could talk about because there is the chance that you guys
About
lose the ability to play forward, and you're going to have to
yeah,
recommit
yeah.
from a different
I
angle.
was about to say that. I was about to say that. Where if they are like on hill, but yet you guys still have seconds, so they play long. That's what I'm about to say.
What I will say is that no matter what, it's a commitment. Most of the time when they're walking over hill, they have control of your shutter. You're not going to be able to peek it all too much. The only time you can is when they're not paying attention, or is when they're all on cart. And these are the situations where playing in this area are worse. However, this does give you the guarantees of if shit goes wrong, you can always go back to spawn, resup, and be ready to fight third. Here's another idea. You go into main, you see what you can get done, but your main goal kind of hovers around protecting your team. This is a very committal way of playing. This still leaves the chance of you getting caught out, but at least if people are going to go through you, or go through your team, they're going to have to go through you. But it is very, very, very tough to try and re-push second if you guys have no space over hill. Usually that means that this is a fight lost. But this is dependent on where the team is sitting. And this is why we need to talk about this spot again. If you know that a heavy's playing aggressive in this right area, you already watch it. You're still in this area, you're just going to be able to shred him. If not, you're going to be able to hide over here. As soon as he walks up, you're shredding him. And then you can pay attention to combo tracks. Now, you're not really doing anything when you're playing over here. In fact, you're kind of just waiting for them to make a mistake, in which case you can then walk up and try to take cart. And the idea is pretty much the exact same. Take control of this area, take control of tracks. Hill, you guys slowly push together with picks, or with better damage. All that sort of happy stuff. But again, that's an ideal that usually does not happen. However, you're still valuable. You're protecting this area, you're still watching this area from people walking in, so you're protecting against a scout, an engineer, a spy, people like that, who are just going to blitz through, drop your medic if you're not paying attention to the shutter. Which is why I'd say this is kind of a common ground for you to play on. But again, if your team is in dire straits, recommitting kind of sucks. The only times that recommitting works is when the team is making a mistake on offense, or they don't have cart time, which in and of itself is a mistake. But besides that, for offense, there's not really much for me to say. I will say transitioning from second to third, I don't go into the cart unless I'm dead. My main goal is to just get space over here as quickly as possible, check for stickies, back up if I need to, but prevent them from playing in this area for a prolonged period of time. If you're playing in main, you get sniped. When you're playing over here, at least you have a chance of running away. But yeah, for third offense, most of your time is going to be spent through main. Now you can go flank, and we will discuss about the ways that you play flank too. We'll talk about it now, actually. Flank is polarizing because you're not needed at any point in that spot, in my opinion. Like, you get a lot of coverage over where people are sitting, but this information should not be on you. Because you are slow, you are fat, and you are very much not committing to a fight when you should be committing to a fight. The information that you should be getting is from this area. You're playing with your combo, they're getting flank. Your main goal is to protect main, and if you're not going to be able to protect main, at least you have a chance of backing up and trying to tell people to fight main from a different angle, like flank or cheeseburger, whatever have you. What I also like about this spot, you're able to sit over here, you have a pack, eat your meal, you can sit in this corner if you want to be weird to the weird person going into hell. all that sort of stuff. But it also gives you this wall. You play it wide if you need to deal with players trying to play in. This is one of the examples that I use when it comes to playing wide on the hill. You're going to be spotted if you do this. You play it wide, gives you much more control over where people are sitting and how much you can react to it. And most of the time, they're going to be playing over on this side, rather than over here. If it's called that people are over here, you do not extend yourself. If people walk into you, you're prepared for it because you are not showing yourself. Sure, you might be shooting, but if they walk into you, you're going to quickly transition your targets onto the person walking at you. You peek them like this, now you expose yourself. Just keep that in mind, alright? This does change a little bit when your combo tries pushing main, and I'll just tell you the main push in a second. The main idea with the push is that people go flank to deal with them on ladders, on the head glitch, over by the pack, over by the flank, so that includes white room as well. When that is all happening, this gives your sniper and demo the space to walk forward by ladders in order for you guys to make a push with an Uber, keep your sniper at this angle, and just lock down this area from ever being played by red. That's the idea for them getting set up. For the push itself, and what you're going to be prioritizing is getting on the cart or off the cart. And depending on the situation, I prefer just playing on the cart. It's not this head glitch. It's not even a head glitch. It's just the fact that you're on the wall and people have to jump into you in order for you to be dealt with. When you're on the cart, you have more space for you to work with. There's more of a chance for you to slip away if need be, in my opinion. Over here, you can be a weasel, but when you're playing over in this area, you're committed. Like, people know you're in this area as soon as they see the bullets going this way. But if you're on cart, you're pushing it slowly, you're helping your team. If they choose to fight you then, now you have a head glitch because the cart gives you one. But you also have to be aware of the fact that there's going to be everyone jumping at you. Not only from this side, but from flank as well. Soldiers might bomb you. Scouts might walk at you from white room all the way like this to try and get you. Same thing with a heavy, but a heavy should be prioritizing maintaining that head glitch. If not, shooting you from the flank like this, or another angle if need be. If they try going in the same angle and trying to fight you, it is shit. Like, especially on cart. Like, if you're trying to deal with the heavy by playing in this spot, good luck, because you're going to die. Fast. Like, you are just dead. So, why is this important? You play in this area to wait for your team to be set up, and like ramp on Asheville, you are waiting for the chance for your team to push, whether it be a dry fight, which you take ladders, take control of flank, take control of cliff, and then you transition over to the other side. It's important that I tell you about this because if you don't do it like this, you could very well lose easy fights, and I don't want that happening. So again, gauge whether or not it's better for you to play on the wall, especially if you haven't shot anybody yet and you want to surprise them, or if people know your main, you're on the cart, you're helping out, you're doing what you can. Just be aware that if people are still on ladders and nobody's dealt with them, they're going to be looking at you. And that sucks. So, let's talk about the flank pushes again. There is an idea for you to do this with Fist of Steel, but it's shit. I don't like it. There's also an idea for you to go lockers. Lockers has a bit more merit. Once you have lockers, you're playing by the wall, watching out for bombers. Notice, however, you're not going to be able to play over here because of spies, but also people can just jump over the wall. And if people take an Uber into you, oh, it's terrible. So that's why I don't really like playing flank in the first place. However, that's not the only thing that you can give you. You have a choice between going into ladders or going into flank. If you're going into flank, you're dealing with the HVH. Even though you can see their shadow, it's still a head glitch for them. You have to close the distance if you want to make some progress. If you kill their heavy or force them all the way back into spawn, this gives your sniper enough room for him to take the shot. But again, like on second with Jenkins, it's not really worth you playing with your sniper, if that makes sense. Other people can do it better because they don't have the same responsibilities as you. Like, for once, the engineer can actually protect his sniper on the map. And it not be shit. Or just be an alternative way of play. But another thing that you could do, again, go ladders. The idea being you're pushing into ladders, you play aggressive, you're just blitzing right through, focusing the flank. But of course this leaves you open to main. And of course there's always an option, always, to fight main from ladders, which again is shit. Or you dropping down to main and pushing cart anyway. Do you see why main makes a lot more sense than going into flank? You're holding down an angle that nobody can really peek until they get space, which takes time. Your demo can set up properly because he has stickies. You have a sustain weapon, a minigun. You're holding the angle. You can deal with people. You could see people. You could shoot them, beam them for as many seconds as possible. If they try to peek you and rush you, you're the only one dying. You're not the only one feeding. But even still, you just have an important role of being the main focus of this push. They enable you to walk onto the cart. You don't enable them to walk onto flank. They enable you to play the objective, and that's what matters. If, for whatever reason, they wipe on second and you're able to get third for free, here's what you do. Play the wall. Scout and NG are going to be the ones capping. Your combo tries rotating the sniper all the way over to Burger as fast as possible. If not, he's playing over by the staircase or main. The idea being, you are preventing them from getting any space over by this area, and that's what matters. If you are able to push into their spawn, it's good, don't get me wrong. There is ways for you to play it, but again, they could just rotate out from a different area if the time is that much. If you have to wait a long time for you to cap, and they can push you from a different angle. I'm not saying that playing over here all the time is going to work. If people know you're going to do that, they're going to play around it. They're going to send people flank on top of the fact that they're going to be sending people main. And then you're going to have to choose which targets to shoot. Playing aggressive has its perks, but it also has its drawbacks. So, if you see the cart rolling around, better for you to play on the objective, but if the cart is not a factor, better for you to take away space if they don't have it. And if they do have it, you and your combo call for a bomb, your soldier bombs, you're walking in with your combo, your demo supports you, you're just taking the head glitch and fighting them. But more often than not, they're going to give up space, they're going to allow you to play over by White Room, for example. And the idea is pretty simple. You're just holding this area. If people walk main, you play above them. If people walk the spawn, you call it. Beat's playing over here because you're caught out by the people in flank. Main track spawn 4th. And this spot just kind of is far away from your team either way. So if you're playing over here, you're going to win. More often than not. If you're playing over there and your team is not winning, something's going horribly wrong. Another thing that I'm going to mention is guns. I forgot to mention this on second, but you can be one of the main people dealing with the guns. In fact, on second for the main tunnel push, that's primarily what you're looking for if the gun is playing aggressive. If the gun is all the way back, there's not much that you can do other than shoot it from afar on the cart. But if you know the gun is playing aggressive, you are going to be the first one to deal with that. If the gun is not there, if the gun is playing on the rock, you're going to have to play a bit more conservative, but it's still your job. This is also what you should be doing on cart and playing main. If you notice that the gun is playing very close to the cap, you're going to be the one shooting it. If you notice that the gun is playing all the way over by this crate, if you're on the cart, you see it, you shoot it. I make this an important thing because it is very, very, very likely for you to win this match if you kill the gun before anything else. Even on a point like first. When you're playing on defense, when you're playing on offense, sometimes the best thing to go for is the level 3 gun. That shit takes time. It takes energy. It takes metal. It wastes a lot of time that the engineer had during setup. And if if you're able to get the gun kill on any other point, again, more setup time, more time wasted. He needs to build another one. You deny him any sort of purpose, unless he runs at you with a shotgun with crits, for example. But, again, that's more of a rarity. Your main objective matters more than anything else. You killing the gun is going to help you do that. Alright, and now on to defense. Because there was nothing more for me to talk about with offense. Any questions? Actually, there is one more thing I forgot to mention. I talked flank, I didn't talk hell. For hell, this is why I don't really like pushing this spot, but it is something to consider. This is something you'd want to do 10% of your games. The idea is, if nobody sees you on flank, and you're able to make the jump, this then becomes one of the most dangerous ways for heavy to push. However, the main drawbacks are the fact that it's easily spotted by people if they have a brain. And if they're playing passive, playing the head glitch and stuff like that, you can't commit, otherwise people will commit into you. Unless there's a call to mulch for that heavy, in which case then the spot has merit. But the longer you stay in this spot, the longer it's, the longer you stay in the spot, the more likely people are going to be able to see you and deal with you. This spot I hate due to how much you have to commit for it to work. With that being said, it's still powerful. Alright, now we're going to go on to defense. If for whatever reason you're playing in this area, don't do that. If you are, you're looking up watching for a bomber, or you're being useless. So you're going weight room. This is if they're playing aggressive, this is if they're playing forward, but you still have time for you to make a counter push. When you're playing red room, you're just holding this area, making sure nobody gets through, spies included. And then you and your flank are either going to go like this onto cart. This is a very direct way of pushing. It's not always the best. Or you're going to start dealing with flank with the idea as soon as you get it. Then you can start playing the head glitch and start playing aggressive into their main. And you're going to notice this little trend with flank and white room. Because this is where you go to when shit goes awry. And you don't want to commit back to your team, otherwise you're going to have to rotate back here anyway. This is a spot where you can eat a meal. This is a spot where you can get that meal back with a small health pack. You get ammo. You're helping your flank. It's important for you to take this fight as seriously as possible. Because, very often, this spot is powerful enough for you to solo hold flank. Unless they send more than 2 people. Like a sniper, soldier, and scout, for example. Or NG, for example. Somebody should be calling who's over by this area. If you're doing this alone, something's going wrong. But you're not playing the wrong spot. Somebody's calling. They're aggressing. Person on flank aggresses. You're peeking the head glitch. That should be the main driving force of this hold. More importantly, you have a role not only to watch flank, but ladders. If people push ladders and you're not aware of it, you're just going to lose the game. Focus on ladders as much as you are focusing over here. In fact, the thing to do is for you to play the head glitch, making sure that you're watching, being aware. If people walk main, you deal with that. If people walk ladders, you deal with that. Do you ever commit into ladders or commit into main? Not always. And that's what matters. Because you're watching flank on top of this. And even more impressive, you're watching hell. If you're able to see someone like a heavy trying to jump onto here, you focus him down, you call people over to help you because he is much more of a threat if he gets into that spot than you are a threat playing this spot. And again, that's part of the reason why you have to be aware. But if you know that they're going flank, if you know that they're going for an Uber exchange, you back up over to white room. Again, you can eat a meal, do whatever you need to, and then you have the choice of walking back in, either from here, or you're going into flank. And most of the time, it's going to be a balancing act. When you don't have flank, you're going to have to work to get to that spot. As soon as you have that spot, you're going to have to weigh whether or not you're staying in the spot for a prolonged period of time. If you can't, white room or main. Usually white room. I'm keeping it a bit simple, not to simplify the way that people will play it, or to lose out on detail, but that's just how it is played. There's not much nuance to that spot. There's only a lot of different roles and responsibilities, and eventually you are not going to be able to keep up with one of them. Or you're going to be focused, you're going to be called out. People are going to walk into you, they're going to start dealing with you a whole bunch. That's why you have to be aware of it. Any questions with defense so far?
So basically, just don't go to flank on defense until most of the flankers are alive, scout soldiers are alive. To be fair, you can hide inside
Sometimes.
white room, and then when they respawn, you can just do that. Or B, like go out of white room, go out to white room now. Go left, like or hold around here, like hold near that rock until
No.
you're
No.
just
The reason why I say no is because if you're holding over here, you're not
yeah.
holding like this, you're just holding
Yeah,
this
just
area,
waiting
watching
for the
over.
flanker, waiting for your flanker to respawn so you can take over the cliff area with them.
The reason why I say no is because there's so many chances for you to get called out and committed on.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Okay.
At least when you have white room, you have the luxury of cover. When you play
Yeah,
over
fair
here,
enough.
you're just kind of banking on the fact that nobody's spotting you. Sometimes it works because
Noted
nobody
you?
does spot you, and then you just peek an angle or walk an angle. And it is better for you to walk with flank members. Don't try to do this alone. But remember, if you're playing in white
Obviously
room,
not. Obviously not.
when you're playing in white room, you're baiting. So
Mm-hmm.
you
Yeah.
want to be in as much as possible for you to get as much value as possible.
Okay.
So, yeah. White room is a transition spot. Play flank after you're done with white room. And if you can't get any sort of flank pressure, you go back to white room or you go back over to your combo. With that said, that's it for offense and defense on third. We're just going to talk about offense on fourth after we talk about the defense, because the defense is substantially easier to talk about. Substantially. Defense works in a variety of different ways. There's levels and flavors of aggressive play and passive play. The most aggressive play that you can commit towards is playing this angle with your team. You're holding white, or you're holding red room. You're holding tracks. Your team is watching big door, or my bad. No, yeah, big door.
Yeah, big door.
Yeah. Sorry, I had to like double check for a second because I'm tired, so I thought I accidentally missaid the word, but I'm right. Either way, you're just playing in this area. You're holding this. It's very aggressive. You still have the chance of walking in if need be. You're given a lot of control when playing this, and the only times when you really want to walk in is when your team is ready to commit into them, when they're holding the angle over by red room, but they're not committing to red room. You know what I mean? Like, you go over here to peek first and win an ego fight. And sometimes that works out, sometimes it doesn't.
So you're saying if they're in red room, you don't want to go in there, or you're saying when they're in there, that's when you want to go in there.
I'm saying when you want to go in is the best time for you to go in.
Okay.
And I mean it when I say when you want to, because sometimes you're going to die if this happens. That occasionally happens sometimes, but here's the thing. Before any sort of push, you're made aware of who's by red room, and you gauge whether or not you need to play passive or you need to play aggressive. With the aggressive play comes a lot of different shit. If people don't control big door, people run through flank, people go through big door. Now this spot becomes useless because every single push is going to be coming from flank or big door, and these spots counter this one. Another thing that's also impressively important for you to know. If you don't know where the heavy is, and he's not called anywhere, chances are he might be going main. The idea being to counter this spot by you just being here, not paying attention. You're playing in a spot where you have to look at multiple different angles. You're not going to be able to check that one angle at all times. So that's another counter. A third thing, just Ubers in general. If you know that Ubers are in play, you do not play the spot unless you take that Uber with your combo. Which, in my opinion, is not good for you to go with. But, during dries, when your team has ad, playing over here is very much a really nice thing for you to try and do. Same thing with this spot. The idea being you're not watching main anymore, you have a little bit of eyes on red room. You're planning on taking the Uber still, but you're playing in a much more baity spot, much more non-committal spot. You're able to run out if need be, you're able to get the flash if need be. However, it still loses to main, if not a bit harder, because now you're just closer to getting mulched. Like, you have no way to run. At least when you're over here, you have the luxury of Fist of Stealing into red room, which isn't ideal, but there's a non-zero chance that you live. When you're playing over by this spot, the only play that you have is going into cubby, which delays your death, so I don't really like playing that spot anymore. Same thing with this. If, for whatever reason, I'm done with the aggressive hold and I sit in this area, I'm actively throwing if the sniper's by big door. I'm just actively throwing. Like, if they walk through flank, now it's my problem, because I didn't sit there beforehand. And I want you to just gauge when these positions are great, because this spot is great when there's no sniper and there's no demo, and you're able to play aggressive into them. You're able to immediately get back red room. You're able to immediately fight through main. But think about the risks and the circumstances that are needed for that to be a guaranteed win. Also, you're not really watching out for bombers, which is an important thing for you to consider as well. One of the most important things for you to consider is bombers, and one of the ways that you cannot deal with them is if you're playing aggressive. Unless you're calling them out before they bomb. Which usually doesn't happen because, again, there's so many things that you have to worry about. If you're playing passive, maybe on this wall, now you're going to start dealing with them in a much better way. You're starting to deal with them a whole lot better the more you look towards the main angle, where they're bombing from. If you're able to prevent them from landing on your team, it's better. And this allows them to land. You're still able to deal with them, don't get me wrong, but you're allowing them to land on your medic. That's going to lead to them dealing more damage. In the long run. Or not in the long run, but in the short term. So I don't really like this spot either. I like these aggressive spots because it allows me to play a bit more flexible. However, when I realize that I need to do something, I'm going to rush over to flank with my soldier, get a 450, whatever need be. I either rev over here, or I run straight through, and get this spot over here. The idea being, this is very passive, this deals with every single angle in the game. Which is a double-edged sword, because if sniper peeks in one of them and you're not prepared, you die. If people walk flank, they start rushing it. You have the chance at backing up. You can drop down. You can start playing aggressive with your soldier over by the flank area after you get a 450. You can take back the space. Do what you need to win. You know, all that sort of stuff. If your flank is much better than their flank, there's even ideas for you to walk straight into their cliff. By big door. But I'm not going to talk about that all too much. That's just an option that you can have from playing defense. I want you to just recognize that these two spots right here are very much the center cornerstone. Or center cornerstone, my bad. These are the cornerstones of what makes 4th one of the better holds for heavy on a payload map. And one of the best ways for you to play on the Vigil. It requires teamwork. You don't want to be playing alone. When you're playing aggressive, you're with your soldier, with your demo. If you're playing on flank, you're with your scout, you're with your soldier. No ifs, ands, or buts, you're playing with people. You do this alone, you're going to die alone. And then you're going to feel sad. So, what do I do when their combo starts pushing me? You play this, you back up, you drop down, you do whatever you can to live. If their flank is pushing me and their combo starts walking into main, not much you can do. Gauge whether or not it's better for you to drop down, not take this fight, or continue with the fight if you have people with you, which you should. Another thing that's also important is their combo walking big door. And if so, how much space do they have? Because you can have a nice, nasty little angle over here. If they're walking red room, you can see that from both different directions. You can see it from the window and from the door. All because you have this grate over here. And this is great because now you get to see with maximum visibility if you're using flat textures, which is nice, but not always, not always going to happen. But you're just able to see people. And I want you to just keep this balance in mind. When your team has aggression, or when your team is playing aggressive, it's add, it's evens, whatever, this is better for you to play. But as soon as it gets around towards, 80 to 100%, that's when you have to start considering playing for that Uber. That's when you start taking flank. You start taking these flank fights with your team. You start getting into flank and getting there set up before anything else happens. These are important tenets of the flank hold. If you don't do that, you're left in places where you can't deal with the head glitch, and then you're forced to walk out in a desperate play for you to even get one kill, just for the cart to get capped anyway. So, with all of that being said, that is it for the defense portion of this, and that is it for defense on this map entirely. Is there any questions regarding Big Door? Because I did not talk about it as nearly as much as other places, but at the same time, Heavy doesn't really go there. That's more of a demo's role. If you're going there from flank, and you're flanking around to get something done. Even still, when you do that, that leaves cart open. And I forgot to mention one thing about flank. When you're playing it, there's two ways that you can play flank. It's not walking in and playing aggressive, although you can do that. It's gauging whether or not it's better for you to play on the boxes, or better for you to play aggressive over here. The idea being, if they are trying to take space from your combo, you are still above them, you are still able to deal damage to them wherever they sit. You just have to play accordingly. Alright. Now we're done with defense. Now it's time for offense, and this is going to be a bit more substantially complicated. Now there's 3 main ways of pushing. 4 if you count Big Door, which we'll talk about, but that's more of a, I want to say it's more of a Reddit play. Mostly because if you're doing that, then something's gone horribly wrong on the other team, or they're down players, in which case it doesn't matter what angle you go through. But the first angle is main. Main is pretty simple. You do this when your team is sacking, you deal with the gun, you start dealing with forward pressure. If for whatever reason they back up, you go over towards this corner and win the game. I'm oversimplifying it, but really there's not much else to playing main other than maybe sitting by the cart, helping it getting pushed. But you should be up by the corner. Leave other people to start dealing with the cart. You need to play this corner. It is that important. Same thing with Red Room. Red Room is pretty much mostly done for post fights, where your team is getting space over on main tracks, in which case you and your soldier, again, it doesn't matter where you push from, you just push from a different angle. This also can help alleviate a lot of pressure by you dealing with the gun. You can solo the gun in this spot, but it usually comes at your own life, so be aware of when you're able to do this, and this is just another way for you to get the gun. Of course, from Red Room, you can drop down to main, in which case you'd have a much better angle on the gun, in my opinion. It's a much more flexible spot. I don't really like pushing Red Room all too much anymore, but it still has its purpose. However, the main goal of it is for you to hold it and prevent people from getting in before you make a play to begin with. 450s, you're watching this angle before anything happens. When your team takes an Uber exchange, that's when you would consider playing aggressive. You're peeking the window, nobody's looking at you, then you peek, or you play by the fire hydrant. Fire extinguisher. Once that's done, you can start playing aggressive, you can start doing what you need to. If your team is playing aggressive, they took away space from them, get the corner as soon as possible. It's a win condition. But again, I don't really like pushing from main, but the important part is that it's a chore for Heavy and Soldier to do. Because if they start walking through Red Room, and your team is playing in flank, it's going to be a bad time if you die. So please be on the lookout for stuff like that. Another thing you're also doing is protecting your sniper from spy and just watching out for spy in general. You can chimp a little bit by playing over here, just checking to see if the spy is playing by the drop down. But more often than not, you're not going to be able to catch him out in the act. You're going to be able to catch him out when he's trying to go for something. Now with flank, the flank push, it's very, very non-linear, and I just want to talk about it in two separate ways. The first way is you're pushing with your flank, and the second way is that you're pushing with your combo. With your combo, I like to make you aware that if you peek from flank with your combo, in my opinion, it would be much better for you to peek from a different angle. That's when you would consider start playing Red Room for a little bit. See if there's anybody aggressive. No. Maybe peek main. Maybe peek Red Room. If they're walking flank, you're either helping them get into flank and pushing from there, or you're going a different angle, which, in my opinion, is the better way for you to play. But again, maybe I'm wrong, maybe I'm not. I don't really know. But the idea is the same. You drop down, you start fighting. If nobody sees you, you take space without being seen. It's better. But the idea is pretty simple. As soon as you get space, you start dealing with the gun. You deal with the gun with a multitude of different ways, but the entire idea is this. Once you have flank, you can push this side, but this is not really worth it. You get a couple of cheeky picks if you're lucky. No. The main important part is that when their gun is dead, and they're starting to run away, you get into the corner because you're right here. The corner is a win condition. You're noticing how a lot of these plays end up in the same exact spot. But flank is unique because you not only can push with combo, you can push with flank. With flank, a lot of it is more looser. A lot of it is based off of DM. Like, your scout, your soldier, and you're going to be fighting a whole lot more people. If not, you're going to be taking isolated fights, 3v1s, just trying to get some sort of advantage. And if you know that Heavy's playing in this spot, by the crates or closer, that's when you have to start dealing with him. Chipping him from afar. You have heals, you have buffs, you have everything. But it's also important for you to consider that the Heavy could be over by this side, so please be aware. If your combo's pushing flank and you decide to push with them, again, very simple. You take unfair fights, but now you have a role. You're protecting your medic from spy, you're protecting your medic from bombers, people walking in from big door. Of course, if that happens, there's not much that you can do because most of the time when that happens, they're going in for an Uber exchange. So you're either taking the Uber, which should have been better for your team, or you're just dying, which isn't good. Again, I like to say that offense is a bit more nuanced, but only because it doesn't really need to be. It just kind of is. Like, it's harder for people to push than it is for you to hold. At least when it comes to holding, you have a basic idea. It's a giant U. But this, you have multiple different planes converging into one point. And again, once you win flank, you could shoot the gun, your team is walking up, and then you drop down and play this, or maybe you take an Uber exchange with your demo, or maybe your demo takes a solo. Whatever have you, if you're not part of the Uber, you back up and play your life. And of course, the Reddit play, going through big door when the sniper's dead. The way that I've seen deleted taters play it is pretty simple. Plays the roof, doesn't get spotted. As soon as his sniper wins the SBS, he drops down to cart and starts forcing it. Now again, I would prefer you in the corner, but this has merit to it too. It forces decisions, it forces action. It's a proactive play. But that doesn't necessarily mean that the Heavy is the best at doing that play, you know? And if the heavy's playing passive, or if the heavy is playing aggressive at all on defense, this gets spotted, this gets completely denied. But again, I want you to just be aware of that. And of course, the corner itself. You head glitch, you do what you need to. It's pretty alright. It's a great way to win a game if you get a 5k. There's not much else to it. You just simply have a much better angle than they do. With all of this being said, is there any questions regarding any point? Because I am done with this map.
I think I'm good. But yet, it's more like if your combo is pushing out flank, then sort of heavy go out red room. If combo want to go out through big door or whatever, then can the heavy and soldier go out through like flank if they want to put out through
They can.
big door?
They can. Yeah.
Yeah.
And even if your combo goes flank, you don't necessarily have to follow them. You can. It could work. But more importantly,
It's just optional.
It is optional. Every single one of these places is an option. I don't really have the exact ways of you pushing in mind, but
But be sure that red room is unsecured by the other team, and it's basically free for anyone to walk through from my team.
Unless somebody watches it.
Yeah, yeah.
It only needs one person. You could be that person, you could not. It could be your soldier, you go main, you help your combo. It could
Or
be as
the
simple as
egg.
that. But yeah.
Egg. Yeah, egg. Since other people will be near sniper.
Most of the time it's
If the
the
sniper
NG.
want to pick out through big door.
Most of the time it's your NG helping your sniper, but yeah. But yeah, other than that, I'm tired. I have 4 more chicken sandwiches I need to eat, so I'm gonna head up for right now.
Good job
mukbanging.
mukbanging. Yeah, Tuka.
Question: Are
Good
you gonna
job.
post this full
Okay.
video?
I'm gonna post this whole video, yeah.
Perfect. I'll catch up on what I missed. Thank you, sir.
Tuka, good
Yeah,
job.
no problem.
Good luck on mukbanging the 4 remaining spicy chicken nugget sandwichy. Yeah.
Thanks.
Yeah.
Alright, I'm gonna head up. See you guys later.
Bye.
Bye-bye.